You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look me better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of What If Naruto Enters Gargoyles? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Central Park. Stroll in Central Park in the moonlight, very romantic, Elisa said with a smile as Naruto was taking her out for a walk. Thank you milady, Naruto said as he then stopped. Do you know where we are? He said with a smirk. Where you and Goliath were drugged and slept. Elisa said as it took her a moment, but after spending a long 12 hours here it was very familiar to her. Yeah, I was really touched how you protected us and stayed with us, Naruto said as it was a very noble thing and something he would always remember. Well, you protected me, only seemed fair I returned the favor. Elisa said as she moved some of her hair out of her face. Now how about some dinner, Naruto said as he had to SCK up some. All of his pride to ask one David Zanatos to make a reservation for him. Sure, Elisa said. Had to SCK up my pride for this dining trip. Naruto said. Few minutes later. Gaara asked, did you pick this restaurant because of my name or because you actually like Japanese food? Elisa said as he brought them to a close-by restaurant named Masa. Got ramen here and fell in love with it, now I can't get enough of the stuff. Naruto said with a smile. Sounds like me and jalapenos. Elisa said as they chuckled. I'll be right back, Naruto said getting up, and the moment he did he was ran into by a red-headed woman. I am so sorry, he said holding his hand to help the woman up. No need, I should have dash, the woman was saying before she looked him in the eyes and froze, having a look of shock. Are you okay? Naruto asked curiously, seeing the look in her face. Yes, I need to go. The woman said as she walked past him. Wait, Naruto said as the woman froze. Do I know you? He asked curiously as he had a strong sense he knew her. No, not really, but we will meet again, someday, the woman said as she walked off. You okay? Elisa asked as she had to admit it was an odd interaction. I just ran into someone I felt like I knew from a long time ago. Naruto said as it was an odd sense, something he couldn't shake. Rikers Island. To sun set over Rikers Island as a cyber-armored figure climbed up the walls of the prison with a helmet shaped in the form of a coyote alongside another figure dressed in similar armor, a black bodysuit with purplish-silver armored gauntlets and boots. Its shoulder pads were each shaped in the form of a hound with a matching helmet. Meanwhile, in another part of the prison, Jackal and Wolf sat in their cells, one looking off at the horizon through the bars, the other performing push-ups. 201,202,203,204, 205 Dingo. Wolf said, seeing the only free member of the pack. How did you? Jackal asked. Answers later, right now you'd best get away from the door. Dingo said, laying plastic explosives on the cell causing it to blow, freeing his teammates. Come along mates, the guards will be wanting to talk to us soon most likely. Dingo said as the trio made a break for it. In the women's part of the cell, Hyena was firing off at bugs with a slingshot while Fox was sitting on her bed reading. Why do you read that stuff? Hyena asked curiously as she wasn't into strong literature. Because niches to Buck and Cocker reminds me too much of your friends over there. Fox said looking at twitching bugs. Hyena shrugged, firing off another shot, nailing another roach through the head. Gotcha. Hyena said. Nice shot, good day ladies. The purple armored man said, standing outside the cell. Who the hell are you? Hyena asked, always the curious one. Call me Cerberus, I'm a real hellhound. Cerberus said before firing off a small blast from his wrist, destroying the bars of the cell. Coming, or would you rather rot in jail? He said, handing Hyena her gauntlets. Well, I like a man who brings me weapons. Hyena said, grabbing the female guard holding claws close to her neck. Here's something to remember me by for 5 seconds. She laughed, ready to kill. Hyena, no. There's no need to kill her. Fox said. I beg to differ. Hyena argued, only for Fox to grip her arm. As much as I'd love to see a woman in BLD, we've got to go. Cerberus said. No, I'm staying, I'm going to serve out my time and pay my debt. Fox said. She's lost it, we better take them both out. Hyena said, only for Cerberus to grab her by her shoulders. No time, we've got to go. Cerberus said. Oh. Okay, Rover, but you'd better be awful cute behind that mask. Hyena said, earning a chuckle from Cerberus as the guards came. The two made a run for it, with Cerberus firing off another missile, causing debris to fall, blocking them off. The two soon approached a dead end. What are you doing? There's no way out here. Hyena argued, only for Cerberus to smash his fist into the wall, creating a massive hole. My mistake. Seeing the guards, Cerberus quickly grabbed Hyena and jumped down to the ground, landing onto the ground. Ooh, you're just full of surprises. Hyena said, tracing the masked man's chest. Meanwhile, the golden-armored Coyote aided the other pack members, firing off at the guards. Now what? Wolf said. Cerberus offered, and Coyote walked up to the steel gate, tearing it off, throwing it at the pursuing guards. Okay, I'm impressed. But who are these guys? They're Coyote and Cerberus, the guys who are saving your tail. Dingo said. How are we going to get out of here? Jackal asked, evading bullets. Like this. Cerberus said as he punched the wall, knocking a hole in it, leading to outside. Freedom sound good to anyone? He asked. Ooh, really starting to like this guy. Hyena said as she snickered like the animal she was named after. Romance later, move. Jackal said, wanting out of here. Coyote. Cerberus said as his gold-armored partner's eyes glowed red as a large sheep hovered above them. You all have exact change, I hope. Coyote said. Up we go, my dear. Cerberus said as he picked Hyena up bridal style before he leapt from the opening in the prison to the ship in one leap. You're just full of surprises, aren't you? Hyena said flirtatiously. My lady, you have no idea. Cerberus said before he kicked the ladder down to the others. I suggest moving, gentlemen, those guards won't be down forever. Coyote said, not liking unnecessary risks. The members of the pack began climbing up, and as soon as Coyote was in, the ladder retracted and the door closed and the airship flew away. Clock tower. The pack escaped. How? Lexington said in anger, hating how the group that had used him was free. Busted by 2 armor-wearing guys. Alessa said. And Fox stayed behind, no doubt, so Xanatos could get her out the legal way. Naruto said as he could already guess that move. What is Xanatos up to? Goliath said as he looked out to the city. Who cares, let's hunt them down before the trail gets cold. Lex shouted. Careful, Lexington, you always get worked up when the pack's involved. Naruto said. We know you're still sore about what happened, Lex, but you've got to keep that in check. Matatabi said. Fine. Lexington said. With the pack. Automatic pilot engaged. The computer announced. What about radar? Jackal asked. Not to worry, we're stealth. Rigged. Now here's the plan. Coyote said as he got up from his seat. Hold up a second, dog face, who died and put you in charge? Wolf asked. I've appointed myself leader in Fox's absence. Coyote stated. Congratulations, you just set a record for the shortest term in office. Wolf said, only for Dingo to get between them. Hold on, Wolf, you don't know what you're dealing with here. Dingo warned. He's got a point, when's the last time you tore an iron gate off its hinges? Jackal said. You'll just have to settle for me tearing these jerks in half. Wolf said, jumping at Coyote, who simply touched him, sending an electric shock through his body, knocking him back before he could get up. Cerberus pointed his sword at his throat. Wanna try your luck against both of us? Cerberus said, drawing BLD from the muscular man's neck. Alright, mystery men, you broke us out, you've got some nice moves, you're also pretty cute. Hyena said, looking more at Cerberus than Coyote. But the pack doesn't follow just anyone, for the last time. Who are you? Jackal asked. Both masked men pulled off their masks, shocking the former TV stars at the sight of Zanatos and a gargoyle they'd never seen. Surprised? I know this face is rather dashing. Cold Steel said as he rubbed his face with a smirk. Well, looks like we get some payback. Jackal said, cracking his knuckles. Ha! Don't lump me together with those fools. I don't fight to protect, I'm all about death, destruction, and my favorite chaos. Cold Steel said with chuckled. Now there's my kind of gargoyle. Hyena chuckled, liking him more. What did you do to yourself? You're part machine, Dingo said to him. Next evolutionary phase, you could say. After all, no man wants to lose his manhood. Cold Steel said, looking over his cybernetics. Yes, Cold Steel is what you would call a very progressive gargoyle and a very loyal collaborator. Zanatos said simply. Well, it's only because he has the best toys, and has everything an alchemist like myself needs. He spared the robotics that aided creating my new body. That and the centuries of corpses I've made over the years to make my body's flesh. Cold Steel said as he had no shame using others to keep himself living, using them as spare parts. You killed people and kept their bodies to make a new one for you. Wait, centuries? Wolf asked, wondering if he heard that part right. Kept alive by a spell by 3 very powerful women. Had my aging slowed down even more until my old body became nothing more than a sack of weak flesh. Cold Steel said with a chuckle. And I thought my sister was crazy. Jackal muttered as this crossed some new lines he didn't even think existed. I prefer the term unique, and it's always a privilege to find someone who shares my interests. Cold Steel said, kissing Hyena's hand. Jackal pointed a finger at his throat and gagged. Alright, rich boy, you didn't waste all your fancy junk for no reason. Why us? Wolf asked, curious to why he'd pick people that both tried to kill and rob him. Simple, I want the best, Zanatos said in a simple tone. It's why he made you, of course. Cold Steel said. You made us? Jackal asked in surprise and wondered what he meant. Don't feel bad, only Fox knew, after all she is his girlfriend. Cold Steel said as the remaining members of the pack was shocked. I knew it. Hyena shouted, getting looks from the others. What? The way she talked about him like she was some love-sick schoolgirl didn't give it away, she said as she had her suspicions but always thought it was a stuck-in angle. Let me guess, her not icing those cops was a way to get her out the easy way. Wolf said as he knew a scheme or cover-up when he saw it. And they say you're nothing but muscles. Cold Steel said, applauding him. So what happens now? Dingo asked curiously. That should be easy revenge on Goliath and his band of misfits. They ruined my plans, sent poor David to jail, and you've got your reasons for wanting them wiped out as well. Cold Steel said. What do you do about that blonde guy? I tried punching him and it felt like I punched steel. Wolf said, rubbing his hand, remembering the last time they fought. Leave my nephew to me, I can match him. Magic to magic. Cold Steel said as his hands glowed to show a point. And our blonde friend and his 9 pets have a little problem with iron. Zanatos said, holding up a piece of said metal. Trap them in iron and they'll be helpless. Cold Steel said. Why? Hyena asked. The beasts are creatures of magic, so iron is their weakness. As for my nephew, I'm still trying to figure that out. Cold Steel said. With Zanatos. Sir, might I ask why you seem to be paying even more attention to Mr. Wyvern? Bowen asked his boss curiously. You know me, Owen, I like to be prepared, but this is surprising, Zenitsu said, showing him footage of Naruto's date. Is that? Owen said, adjusting his glasses. Fox's mother, yes, and what she said is quite surprising, Zenitsu said, as he had met the woman in passing once before and knew she was just as sharp if not sharper than Fox herself, yet when she met Naruto she was thrown off. Does she look surprised? Owen asked. Yes, it makes me wonder just how she knows him, Zenitsu said, not liking to be out of the loop. How could a woman know a man who's been asleep for 1,000 years under a spell? Owen asked curiously. Precisely the question. Zenitsu said, wondering what the connection between Naruto and Anastasia Renard was. With Anastasia. Anastasia was currently in her expensive top-floor penthouse playing with her wine, spinning it around in a glass as she looked at it with deep thought. It couldn't have been him, that DMN old man stole him from me, she said, but was lying to herself as she knew in her heart and in the core of her soul that was him. She had a stray tear leave her eye and brushed it away. She got out of her chair, but when the view was changed to the mirror we didn't see a normal woman, we saw a woman with emerald green skin and pointed ears. With Naruto. Are you alright? You seem off. Goliath asked. It's this woman I bumped into in this restaurant, I can't shake the thought that I know her somehow. Naruto said as he sat in the same thinking position his father often took. I don't why, but I can't shake this feeling, he said, as it was really bothering him. Demona was a little curious herself as she, like the trio, watched Naruto's date and had to admit the woman looked familiar to her as well, but for different reasons than Naruto. Whatever the reason, we must focus on finding the pack, before someone gets hurt. Goliath said as he liked to focus on current threats. It's not like them to hide, figured they'd at least rob a bank by now. Brooklyn said as it was pretty obvious that the pack was impatient. Well, they can't hide forever. Lexington said, his temper still high. Calm down, Lexington, too much anger can cloud your better judgment, Naruto said, not wanting to see his brother go down the path of vengeance. But there has to be a way to find them, flying around the city isn't exactly helping. Broadway said as they've tried looking the old-fashioned way and got nothing. Yeah, it's not like they're just gonna call and tell us. Brooklyn said, rolling his eyes. Few hours later. Seriously, can we land? My wings are about to fall off. Broadway said as they've been hovering over the city for hours looking. We need to figure out where they're hiding, Naruto said as the pack had a limited amount of places to hide. It's just so weird, normally by now they'd have some ambush set up, but where the heck are they? Brooklyn shouted, getting tired of looking. Closer than you might think. Cerberus said, jumping out from behind a AC unit. Oh, for the love of God, uncle, I swear your dramatics are a serious issue, Naruto said to them. Ah, what gave me away? Cold Steel said, chuckling as he removed his helmet. Well, for starters, the dang suit looks like a wingless canine-like gargoyle. Naruto said to him. The real problem was tucking my wings in. Speaking of tucking in now. Cold Steel said to them. Naruto looked up to see a metal net falling down on him. He tried to blast out but couldn't. Iron, he said in anger and frustration. Makes you as helpless as a kitten. Cold Steel said. Bronx growled as he charged, only for Cold Steel to point his arm at the canine and a blaster came up from the suit, sending waves. Bronx groaned as it felt like his vision was getting messed up before passing out. Don't forget about us. Lexington said as he, Brooklyn and Broadway charged. Take a nap. Cold Steel said as he tossed a grenade that made green smoke. The trio coughed as they breathed in the gas before falling down, knocked out. That was pretty dang easy. Hyena said as she and the other pack members walked out of their hiding spots. Stick with me and you'll be dangers to them all the time. Cold Steel said. I like the sound of that. Hyena said, laughing. Now that we have our bait, time to ring the bell. Coyote said, looking at the downed gargoyles. 1 hour later. The trio groaned as they began to wake up. Howdy. Naruto said, still in the iron net with Bronx by him. Why is it that whenever we take out Bronx we get into trouble? Brooklyn said, rubbing his head. Where are we? Broadway asked. My guess, inside a cargo ship. Naruto said as he felt them swaying and heard water outside and the salty air was another dead giveaway, with a lot of oil inside of it, he said after taking another whiff of the air. Right you are. Cold Steel said as he and the pack looked down at them. You've got your bait, uncle, now what you call for the rest of the clan? Naruto asked. You know me so well, Cold Steel said chuckling. Whatever your plan is, it'll fail, as usual. Naruto said in a bland simple tone. Maybe, but then again maybe not. But I have my own reasons for carrying out David's requests. Cold Steel said. Like what fancy new toys for your body? Brooklyn asked glaring at him. Not exactly but hey, see you later. Cold Steel said as he closed the cover on the hatch to their holding area and locked it. Will it hold? Coyote asked. Not even a clan of gargoyles could tear open this ship, the hull is a few feet thick and without an air to give them a boost they're stuck, and with that iron net around my nephew he's helpless, Cold Steel said with a chuckle. Good now we prepare for Goliath. Coyote said as he knew the gargoyle was not far behind. Half an hour later. Goliath landed on the ship with Demona and Hudson. Search in the cargo hold. Demona said knowing that was where most if not everything was held in the ship. Welcome sister, Cold Steel said wearing his Cerberus suit. Cold Steel, I see Xanatos has given you another new toy for me to break. Demona smirked, clenching her fist. Ha! You always did enjoy breaking my things when we were children, and I'll be paying you back for that. Cold Steel shouted as he rushed at his sister punching at her. Demona caught his wrist throwing him over. Cold Steel took to the air raising his arm and firing off some bullets. Demona jumped onto the wall of the ship jumping after her brother. So glad you could make it. Coyote said as he and the other pack members made themselves known. Get out of my way. Goliath growled as his eyes glowed. Make me, the hatch holding your son and the others are just behind me. Coyote said tauntingly. Goliath and Hudson charged at the pack. Hudson was taking on Wolf while Coyote was taking on Goliath. With Naruto and the others. Sounds like they found us. Brooklyn said sighing in relief. Yeah geez what did they make this stupid net out of? Broadway as he and Lexington had been trying to free Naruto but no matter what the chains wouldn't break. Suddenly banging was heard on the hatch before a familiar red furry hand punched right through it before tearing it off. Hello anyone home? Shikaku said as he poked his head down chuckling. Didn't expect you. Naruto said with a smile. Hey, sitting around at the clock tower gets boring. Kurama said as he wanted some action but was mainly concerned about saving his friend. Hurry up and get us out of here. Naruto said hating this iron CRP. Alright hold up. Kurama said as they dropped down. Isabu groaned as he fell on his back. Son Goku walked over and heated up the chains breaking them. Thanks Monkey Monk. Brooklyn said. That name isn't funny. Son Goku groaned as he was a creature of legend apparently known as a Buddha hero. Less talking, more fighting. Kurama shouted, running up the steps to face the pack. Cold Steel and Demona were facing off against each other, the metallic gargoyle evading his sister's punches before she swept his leg knocking him on his back. The cyborg gargoyle then rolled to the side to avoid Demona stepping on his face. You're still a sloppy fighter brother. Demona said. True but I've gotten some new tricks. Cold Steel said, holding up his arm firing off a distortion wave causing Demona to grip her head in pain as she stepped back. Just gotta love Xanato's toys, he said laughing. Suddenly Kurama ran over and slashed the weapon. Great, the pets. Cold Steel said rubbing his arm. Goliath was taking on Coyote, gripping the man by his wrists tossing him aside while Hudson was facing off against Dingo evading his sword swings. Our guests are out. Jackal said seeing Naruto. Great. Coyote muttered before getting punched in the face knocking his helmet off to show Xanato's face. Xanatos. Goliath said. In the flesh. Zanato said before firing at Goliath, knocking him into some barrels of oil. With all the fighting, the freighter they were on began to catch on fire. At this rate we're all gonna fry. Dingo said. Naruto looked at Zanato's and felt something was off. Father. Goliath looked over at Naruto. He's not real, I don't sense any life. Naruto said. Goliath was confused before Matatabi fired off a stream of flames burning Zanato's, causing him to step back, revealing half his face. A robot? Jackal said. Yes, one of David's latest science experiments. Cold Steel said with a smirk. Coyote approached Naruto and Goliath when a blast went straight through the machine's chest. I will have my revenge. Coyote malfunctioned as he fell to his knees. Naruto quickly kicked off its head, which Cold Steel caught. Ah man, poor Coyote. Cold Steel said. This ship is going down. Jackal said as the ship began to tilt. That's our K. Cold Steel said as he picked Hyena up and flew away. Hey, what about us? Wolf shouted. Every pack member for itself. Hyena said as she flew away. The remaining pack members growled as they surrendered. 1 week later. What the hell am I looking at? Naruto said as he looked at some claw marks on a nearby wall. Some people reporting they saw a creature with bat-like wings in this alley last night, and unlike the rest of his department he decided to check it out, and when he got there we was a little surprised by what he saw. They're not as deep as a gargoyles but still deep, he thought, as nothing natural could leave marks in pure concrete. They sorta look like cat claw marks. He thought, spending enough time with Matatabi and Elisa's cat to recognize them. You find anything? Elisa asked him as he then filled her in. How much you wanna bet Zanato's is involved, she said as she still hated the man, especially after he hired her brother as his bodyguard. Gorgeous, I'd bet the farm on it. Naruto said as he rubbed his hand on one of the claw marks. Gorgeous, huh? Elisa said, not one for pet names, but when Naruto was the one to do them her heart just fluttered. I didn't mean, there's no better way to phrase that, huh? Naruto said as there was no easy way to answer certain questions with women. Nope, Elisa said with a victorious smile, walking with a bit more pep in her step. So what do you think made these? She asked as he was too smart for his own good. Wasn't a gargoyle, but they resemble claw marks left by a cat, a lion to be precise. Naruto said as he was guessing on that one, since giant cats focused around lions, tigers, and panthers. Zanato's has a lion running around Manhattan. Elisa asked, sounding skeptical. That's the thing, the claws resemble a cat-like species, yet only a human hand could make these. Naruto said as the spacing of the claws was human. That doesn't sound good, Elisa said, not knowing if what this was could be handled by human means. As much as I don't want to say it, we have an abomination of science loose in Manhattan. Naruto said as Zanato's like to play God with both of them. We gotta find this thing before someone else does. Elisa said as that was the clear objective they had. Few hours later. This thing may be nocturnal for all I know, Naruto thought as he and Elisa did everything they could and soon found some things in the alley and have been on the search ever since, not hearing anything during the day. While apparently there's been more of these for a few days, people have been finding claw marks in locations. Lexington said as he was searching the web. These aren't consistent, Naruto thought, as these look to be random, but they seem to be heading in a clear direction. Anyone else smell a rat? Chomei said. Bronx smelled around, looking confused as he did enjoy teasing mice before eating them. Not a literal rat boy. Hudson said, patting the hound's head. All these times and yet only now do we get a sighting of a creature being seen. Something doesn't feel right. Naruto said as all these sightings weren't one of a trained person or an animal marking its territory. Is it just me, or does it seem like these locations are farther and farther away from a certain spot? Lexington said as Naruto got in close. Here, what's in this general area? Naruto asked Lexington, going to the oldest sighting and wanted Lexington to focus there. Just a research lab and mostly abandoned buildings, Lexington said as he pulled up some map information. Genutech, Naruto said as he read the research facility name. Think you have sightings all around one lab for so long and yet only now it escapes. Demona said. Zanato's wanted it to escape, for us to notice. Naruto said as this was too coincidental for his taste, this is either a test, an invitation, or he's calling us out, he said as with Zanato's it could be all of the above. Here is one picture, someone apparently got it. Lexington said as a picture of some female-like silhouette creature with wings and fur was entering a sewer. Did that look like what I thought it looked like? Broadway asked. It looked almost like a gargoyle. Naruto said as it looked like a decent imitation but the wings seemed smaller even by female standards. Or some crude imitation. With Zanato's and the resources he possesses I wouldn't put it past him to try something like this. Yugi said as he seemed far too interested in them. Or a crude imitation of a certain someone. Demona said looking at Naruto. You think he's trying to recreate me? Naruto asked raising a brow. With your abilities it would serve Zanato's better. Matatabi said as not many would admit it but those even during the late 10th century would have killed for Naruto's power. And after all the trouble Cold Steel put us through having an army of Naruto copycats would be even more trouble. Brooklyn said as they had Cold Steel and the Steel Clan to deal with. You got that right Brooks. Chomei said as that'd be really bad. We should investigate this. There's no telling what kind of damage these creatures could cause. Kokuo said with others nodding. I'm more worried about what Zanato's would do to them, Naruto said as Zanato's didn't create these from nothing he was hoping his fears were unwarranted but still hoped no innocent people or creatures were used. Let's move. Goliath said as the clan except Hudson and Bronx left the clock tower. Man, I'm glad that Zanato's hasn't tried making copies of us yet. Shikaku said flying atop Chomei as they flew over the city. Kinda hard to copy us, we were made through magic, powerful magic. Chomei said. Yeah if it was that easy, Cold Steel would have done it a long time ago. Kurama said as he ran with the others on the rooftops. I still can't believe you two were buddies. Chomei said, looking up at Shikaku. Hey. We bonded over our love for chaos, don't judge me. Shikaku said to him as he huffed. After all the trouble you put us through with your craziness back in our old home. Ha, don't get in it. Kurama safe. You all check the south, we'll check the north, Brooklyn you, Naruto and Broadway check the west. Lexington you're in the east with Gyuki and Saiken. Goliath said. The clan then split in their assigned places. Few hours later. What the hell? Naruto said as Brooklyn apparently brought the creature they were looking for and she did somewhat meet his expectations and the sad thing was that she was human and her name was, my hair is standing on end, he thought as he looked at his body. What? She needs protection from Zanato's. Brooklyn said. Dude there's this little thing called over STMLTN she's clearly terrified. Naruto said as the woman-turned-animal hybrid was shaking much like a feline, this is bad sun up is close, he thought as this woman now knew where they lived and it could put them at risk. Well what would you do, she clearly needs us. Brooklyn said to him. Brooklyn I know you're lonely. Naruto said flatly as his brothers were in young adulthood and clearly desired much more feminine company, but this is a major risk, he said as it was like a repeat with Lexington except Lexington didn't tell or invite the pack here. Well at least you can keep her company during the day with the beasts. Brooklyn said. Brooklyn this isn't about her protection as much as I want that, and believe me I do, we don't even know who she is or if she was chipped. Naruto said trying to explain how serious it was bringing a stranger into their home as Zanato's had chipped his father meaning this woman could have been as well. Well maybe you all can get to know her while we sleep, everyone knows you're good at calming people down and making them relax. Brooklyn said as Naruto was a true friend to many even to some. Naruto looked at her and back at him, Brooklyn you do realize when she finds out she was part of some sick experiment to recreate me do you not know what will happen to her, he said as many people would react negatively toward the object or person they were trying to mimic. Can't you think of something? Brooklyn asked him pleadingly. Brooklyn, this is more serious than making you look good so you have a girlfriend. Naruto said in a teasing but serious fashion. It's not about that. Brooklyn argued. Save this argument for tonight, Naruto. I trust you will keep our friend calm and happy. Goliath said as Naruto was the only one who could watch her. Yes, father. Naruto said as he changed into his human form. See, can you all do that? The mutated human asked, secretly wondering if it was possible for her. Nope, just me, I'm kinda unique compared to the rest of my family. Naruto said, kneeling beside the girl. Yeah, he's awesome like us. Shikaku said, jumping on the chair, spooking her before Kokuo yanked him off it. So what's your name? Naruto asked, seeing as that was as good as any place to start. Maggie Reed, I'm from Ohio, she said. How did you end up like this, Maggie? Naruto asked. I was keeping warm by a trash fire when a man approached me asking if I wanted a better life. He took to this place before injecting me with something. Next thing I knew, I woke up looking like a cat woman with wings. Maggie said. Definitely not Sanato's, he's more robotics than genetics. Naruto thought, this man, what did he look like? He asked curiously, thinking Zanato's may be either less involved than he thought or was trying to play God. He had a slight hunch, and he had an accent, brown hair, and he gave his last name Severius. Maggie said, giving them all she knew. Sounds like you're run-of-the-mill mad scientist. Chomei said. Taking advantage of people off the streets to use humans as test subjects, only a truly evil person would do something like that. Matatabi growled. Will I be like this forever? Maggie asked in total sadness. Naruto held her hand. I am no scientist, but I will help you in every way I can, he said. Yeah, don't worry lass, you're among friends here. Hudson said. Isabu nudged his head against Maggie's leg. Come, the sun is rising. Goliath said to the others. Now don't freak out, this is perfectly normal for us. Brooklyn said as all but Naruto took their places on the terrace. Maggie watched as the sun came up and they turned to stone except Naruto. Gargoyles turn to stone during the day, however, because I'm half human I can choose whether or not to turn to stone. Though becoming a gargoyle during the day really takes it out of me. Naruto said as he thought a little honesty based on what she saw would be a better way. How did you become one? Maggie asked curiously. That is a long story, my lady, 1,000 years in the making. Naruto said as he was being very serious. Well, I have time to hear it. Maggie said, surprised to hear that. Okay, 1,000 years ago, Naruto began telling his clan's story and the origin of how he became who he was now. 12 hours later. About time, Naruto thought to himself as he was able to calm Maggie down as the gargoyle woke up. Are they always like that when they wake up? Maggie asked. You get used to it. Naruto said as he scratched his ear. You're still here. Brooklyn said, happy to see her. Slow down, Romeo. Naruto said, grabbing one of Brooklyn's horns. He sent a look to his parents knowing that this was still something that needed their attention. So what's the plan now? Brooklyn asked, rubbing his horn. Because I say we find this Severius and force a cure out of him, he said. Force a cure out of who? Alessa asked as she entered the tower. Maggie, this is Elisa. Elisa, meet Maggie. Naruto said, simply knowing this was gonna get weird. So any relation? Elisa asked the gargoyles, wondering if Maggie was a gargoyle herself. Maggie was turned in a process like myself. Only she can't change back, Naruto said. By a doctor named Severius. Demona said as this made matters more complicated. This night keeps getting better, Elisa thought with a frown, knowing that it may be easier having a victim of human experiments went a long way as they were very illegal unless voted to be conducted by willing participants, and Maggie didn't seem very willing. Hey, what's got you looking so down? Naruto asked Elisa. It's Derek, I haven't been able to get a hold of him, Elisa said as that made her worried. That can't be a good sign. Son Goku said, did he tell you anything, Elisa? He asked, wondering if Derek said anything previously of what he'd be doing. Our best guess is most likely Zanato's, so we'll just have to track him. Kurama said. Ixnay on the Anato's Ze, Naruto said to him. What? Goliath asked. Pig Latin. Elisa said to him simply as he looked confused. Naruto walked over to the others. I didn't tell her about Zanato's. After all, how is it gonna look if we suddenly started saying bad things about the one man who could help her? Naruto whispered to them. He's got a point, Kurama said, as the man who authorized this could possibly her greatest chance to fix it. But won't that be exactly what Zanato's wants? He promises a cure but never gives it. Shikaku said, as it was basically mind games. Whatever the case, we can't just drop all this stuff on her, she needs to discover Zanato's for who he is on her own. Naruto said to them. Back to the main question, what do we do now? Lexington asked, as this was new territory, as he had no way of knowing where to start with genetics. If what I think happened to Derek is true, he might be at Genutech or hiding with Zanato's. Naruto said to them. But what do we do about Maggie? Brooklyn asked. Let the last stay with me, with the beasts and Bronx staying with me, how much trouble could happen? Hudson said. I still don't know if she should. Maggie, have you always been wearing a collar? Naruto asked, eyeing a collar around her neck now, seeing the metal shine past her fur. This? I woke up with it when I escaped. Tried tearing it off and hitting it with rocks, but it won't come off. Maggie said. Naruto took a closer look at it and saw it was equipped with a tracker, but because of all Maggie did to it trying to remove it, she must have smashed it. Well, I say you were right to smack it, as if you didn't you would have been found, as it's equipped with a tracker, he said. What? Get it off. Maggie said, starting to panic. Naruto easily bent the metal and flew off with it, hoping to lead whoever was looking away. Surprise, surprise, he thought to himself as he saw vans began to follow him. Guess they only hunt her when the sun is down, he thought to himself. Naruto began to lead them away from the clock tower, trying to keep them as far away from Maggie as possible. Suddenly a dart hit his neck, which he pulled out. Wanna drg me try monster-sized amounts of doses, he taunted. Suddenly he began to feel kinda tired after getting hit by 3 more darts. He smacked against the corner of a building before landing in an alleyway. Approaching target. A man said. Naruto looked up at them, grinning. Wrong, gargoyle morons, he said to them, throwing the collar at them, but soon noticed he had like half a dozen darts in him before losing consciousness. We have got the wrong target, what do we do now? The man asked as he pressed his ear. Bring him to me, a man's voice said with accent. Genutech Laboratory. Naruto groaned as a bright light shined in his face. Douse the light, you moron, he said as he felt really groggy. Remarkable, a brown-haired man said with accent. Severius, I presume? Naruto asked curiously. Anton Severius, at your service. You're not the target we wanted, but I'll take what I can get. Perhaps we can help each other. Severius said with a sinister smile. You mean help you turn innocent people into knockoff gargoyles? No thank you. Naruto said to him. Well, technically it's not me turning them, it's your BLD, with some alterations thanks to me. Severius said. So Zanato stole my BLD so you could recreate me, saw that coming. Naruto said as he was sure Zanato's would somehow acquire his BLD. Trying to recreate, your DNA is very tricky and still haven't found a way to have the subjects change back, but I'll get better. Severius said to him simply. What you need is an actual doctor. Naruto said to him, or to be locked in a padded room and given shock therapy, he said completely serious. Zanato's was right, you do have a mouth on you. Severius said to him simply. Well, that solves one mystery of whose, but I am gonna kick next after you, Naruto said, cracking his bones. And risk poor Derek Mazza to be stuck as a mutation forever? Severius said with a smile. What have you done? Naruto asked, tugging on his restraints. Zanato's must know I'm here, and this idiot has to be working for him since he knows who and what I am, he thought, as this man may have been a genius, but he was a classic and cliché villain, always ranting. Your face is uneven, he said, noticing one side had a few more wrinkles than the other side and his hair seemed uneven or tilted. Severius looked at his reflection in a mirror and performed some adjustments. You wanna lose the disguise, I can tell you're no old man. Naruto said simply as it was pathetic he was still trying to keep up the rouse. Zanatos was right, you are smart. Severius said very impressed. Now what have you done to Derek? Naruto said his eyes becoming predatory slits and unleashed some bloodlust. Let's just say he will know how Maggie feels very soon. Severius said. UBSTRD. Naruto growled as his eyes shined red with BLD lust. Now, calm down. There is still a chance to help young Derek and Maggie and you're the key. Severius said. What are you talking about? Naruto asked. With your help I can perfect my mutagenic formula, and then Derek, Maggie and my other two subjects could have the ability to go between their human and gargoyle forms. Severius said. No, Naruto said to him with a growl and glare that would have done his parents proud, I give you what you want, you'll have the knowledge and go and try and make more chimeras, he said, hating not being able to help his friends, but if the man learned enough from him it could get even worse for people he got his hands on. So then you're fine with Derek, Maggie and the others remaining monsters for the rest of their lives. I wonder how Detective Mazza would feel about that. Severius said. Naruto snarled as he snapped at him, nearly biting his hand. I'm a smart guy, eventually I'll figure out how to change them back, whether it be by your ways of science or by sorcery, he said. My cold steel wasn't wrong about you being a stubborn one. Severius chuckled. You can't keep me here. Naruto said as it was more a fact than a statement. Oh, but I will, and with your BLD I'll perfect my research and who knows, perhaps even someday learn how to replicate your powers. Severius said. Good luck with that, my powers are from magic and you can't easily replicate magic, Naruto said. True, perhaps cold steel will help with that part, get comfy, you may be here a while. Severius said as he left. God DMN, I hate some humans. Naruto said as he tried breaking his restraints, but he could still feel the DRGS in his system weakening him. Hate being the caught gargoyle in need of help too, he grumbled. Clock tower. Naruto's what? Demona roared, shaking the tower, her eyes glaring, shining menacingly red. The other gargoyles shivered in fear with Chome and Shikaku hiding behind them. Went in the direction he left but couldn't find him. Brooklyn said to her. And we tracked his scent before it ended, where a lot of people were, and this. Shikaku said, holding up a trank dart. That's from them, the people who are after me. Maggie said, recognizing the dart. When I find them they'll regret the day they were born. Demona vowed as the others felt a small amount of pity for those that stood in her way. Oh man, Demona is in full demon mother mode. Gyuki said. And that's when she's her most vicious. Son Goku said. So what's the plan, Goliath? Brooklyn asked. Maggie, these people that are after you, did they have some logo or some kind of brand? Goliath asked curiously, wishing they paid more attention to the collar Naruto took away. When I last escaped there was a truck that said Genutech on it, Maggie said. Then that is where we look. Goliath said. Shouldn't we let Elisa know? Maybe she can do something about these guys. Lexington said. Let me know what? Elisa asked. Every gargoyle shut their mouth, not wanting to draw the short straw as Elisa's temper rivaled her Demona's. Naruto has been kidnapped by Genutech. Shikaku said, getting looks from everyone that basically said, are you insane? And we think they've done something to your brother. Son Goku said. Elisa's face was full of shock, followed by white-hot rage that Demona herself felt impressed about. What? The two said as the others looked at them. Well, what are you waiting for? Go get him. Elisa said simply. I'm really starting to like her more and more. Demona smirked, crossing her arms. I think Naruto's BLD made Elisa a bit more aggressive. Sun said as there was still some debate on whether the BLD did anything. Me think? Gyuki said sarcastically. With that the group took to the skies towards Naruto's location. Within his cell the young warrior laid looking up at the ceiling as he contemplated how he would be able to escape. Okay, trapped in a mad scientist lab, chained with iron and no way to escape. DMN, it looks like I've gotta wait for the guys to come bust me out again. And knowing mom, she's gonna be on the warpath. Naruto said as he knew full well whenever certain situations like this occurred his mother lived to her name, I need to keep my cool to buy time, these morons have enough DRGS to put me to sleep for days. He thought as the glass may have been breakable but the metal surrounding the cells and the building were very thick. Naruto tried using his tail to pick his locks. OW, he said as he pulled his tail out holding it, that didn't work. He groaned, I freaking hate being the guy needing rescue, he said. Naruto noticed his cell had a window to outside but believed it to be one way. His eyes then widened as Zanato's walked in with a fur-covered, winged Derek. For once I wish I was wrong, he thought, not wanting to believe Derek had been changed. Hey bud, he said trying to erase the situation. He then saw Derek couldn't hear him as Severius walked into the lab and he held up an injector. May I present, the cure? Severius said. He's lying. Naruto thought as he saw the sarcasm in his features, and that was too quick. Even if Derek hadn't fully transformed, make him take it, he said to Derek. How most people know that their food isn't poison, they make whoever made it sample it, he said. Derek looked around hearing Naruto's voice. Dark cage on the right, God I hate this. Naruto said as he growled. Severius groaned as he pressed a remote and the lights came on to the cages. Zanato's your butt is done when I get out, you hear me, Naruto said glaring at him using his tail to press the intercom button. Why did you put an intercom in his cage? Zanato's asked rubbing his temple. They're in all of them, and I didn't have time to disable his. Severius said. Disable? You told me he was helping with this cure. Derek said growling slightly. Before anyone could say anything else Goliath and Brooklyn busted down the door. No, not now. Derek said. Zanato's, of course you're here. Brooklyn said growling. Hurry up and get me out of here. Naruto said as he wanted to beat someone. Goliath ran at the cage knocking Zanato's and Severius out of the way. Before breaking the glass, you've been getting into a habit of needing rescuing, he said jokingly. Oh shut up, father. Naruto said as Goliath broke his restraints. We've got him, now let's go. Goliath said as they ran out. No, I need him. Severius said as he jumped onto Goliath, but the large gargoyle pushed him off, knocking him into a tank of electric eels. Severius screamed as the eels electrocuted him before he stopped moving. No, oh, no. Derek yelled as he saw his only chance for a cure die. Tears of frustration and sadness leaked from his eyes. 1 hour later. I freaking hate being the rescuee and not the rescuer. Naruto said as he cracked some bones. At least now Elisa can calm down. Lexington said. Up until we tell her about Derek. Naruto said noticing the silence. Alright, who spilled, he said as he was sure Elisa was mad. Sun and Shikaku were shoved forward. Traitors, they said as they looked at the group that easily gave them up. Why? Naruto asked the two. I don't like lying. Sun said. And she scares me. Shikaku said. Naruto face-palmed, sliding it over his face in frustration. Oh, like she doesn't scare you. Shikaku said as he knew like everyone that Naruto was whipped. What do we do now? Without Severius, Brooklyn said, stopping there as the man was Maggie and Derek's only chance. When it comes to Zanato's, things aren't always as they seem. Naruto said, I could still sense life force from that old man's body, he said simply. So he faked his death to push Derek deeper into Zanato's grip. Demona said. Yes, as Zanato's is the only other person who could possibly make a cure. Naruto said. Where's Maggie? Brooklyn asked. Hudson sighed. The lass got tired of waiting, so she left to find a cure from Zanato's, he said as he wasn't gonna keep someone here against their will, and he knew they couldn't keep her here like Zanato's did, so they were short on options. And now he has his full team of knockoff gargoyles. Naruto said as this wasn't getting any better. What? We can't just let her dash, Brooklyn was saying. Brooklyn, I understand the pain of loneliness but she is her own person, we can't force her to stay. Naruto said to him sadly wishing there was more they could do. But shouldn't we at least try Derek? Broadway asked. Naruto sighed, it will not be easy, he's probably furious as he believes we've taken away his only chance for a cure, he said as it didn't help Zanato's was a manipulator and that Derek had a pretty one-sided view on things. At the castle 2 hours later. The clan landed and looked around. It's quiet, too quiet. Brooklyn said thinking they'd set of an alarm or Zanato's would meet them to taunt at them. You did not just say that out loud. Naruto said as that was like asking fate to come and answer the call with something that'd likely be deadly and out to kill them. Just then 4 figures jumped from down to the ground landing in front of the Manhattan clan. Way to go Beak for brains. Shikaku said. We've been waiting for you. Derek said with a low growl. Look Derek, we don't want to fight you. Naruto said. Save it. Derek said as his arms glowed before he shot a blast of electricity at Goliath knocking him over, if it wasn't for him I'd be human right now, he shouted. Derek there is a lot I'll put up with from my friends but this crosses so many lines so if you want him you're gonna have to go through me. Fine. Derek said as he unleashed another blast but Naruto countered with his own lightning blast, Fang, Claw, take M, he said to the wild cat and tiger like mutates. The two charged and tackled Lexington and Broadway. Maggie please, let me help you. Brooklyn said. No you want me to stay a monster, like you. She said blasting him. That's not true, Brooklyn said as he tried to fight against the electricity but was failing. Naruto and Derek wrestled each other as they rolled across the ground. Naruto then growled as he breathed fire making Derek get off of him, gotta love magic, he said with a smirk. I've got some tricks of my own. Derek said, unleashing a blast of electricity on Naruto. What? Lighting blasts, are you kidding me? Naruto shouted as that was cheap in his opinion. What did you think Severius needed those eels for, Derek said. Man for knockoff gargoyles, you guys sure are overpowered. Naruto said as Derek fired off another electric blast which Naruto met with his own flames pushing them back. Takes one to know one, after all Severius tried making us like you. Derek said. Well imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Naruto said firing his own electric blast, but I also know a cheap copy when I see one, he said to him with a hard look. Naruto and Derek rushed each other with Naruto nailing the panther mutant in the face while Derek punched him in the stomach. The two laid their fists into each other with Derek slowly keeping up with some of Naruto's hits. The two lunged at each other as they rolled along the stone floor in a deadlock. Derek shouted as he sent out a wave of electricity knocking Naruto off of him, as he charged someone shot at his feet making him stop. Derek looked over and saw his sister standing. That's enough. Elisa said getting both their attention. Derek, she said sadly seeing her brother. So you know. Derek said lowering his head. Naruto told me. Elisa said as she put her gun away. Derek growled at him. Just take the hit, Naruto thought to himself as he wanted to sell out a certain raccoon and monkey for being the ones to tell but he'd take the blame for this. Derek, let us help you. Elisa said wanting her brother to listen to her and reach out. Let them. They're the reason I'm a monster. Derek said. We did jack SHT to you, don't push the blame on us when Severius was the one to mess with your body, Naruto said not taking the blame for that. If Goliath never showed up I would have had my cure. Derek said roaring more and more. Or would have been poisoned. Naruto said to him, we warned you not to trust Zanato's and look at you now, you're a chimera and now you still rely on him, you want to push blame, put it on him, he said to him. Zanato's is the only person trying to help cure me, cure us. Derek said. I really need to beat some sense into this moron, Naruto thought as he hated Derek's narrow-sighted point of view as he was willing to see the best in Zanato's after all his convictions, but with them he saw the worst despite them saving his life in the past. No he's not, he's lying, he's always lying. He's promising a cure but he will never give it. Elisa said. No. Derek said as he accidentally zapped Elisa, knocking her over. Elisa, he said before shouting a flying off. That's your only freebie, Naruto thought, picking Elisa up, and let out a loud roar that silenced everyone in the air, making them halt as he flew away. Few hours later. Naruto felt so very useless at this moment, feeling Elisa cry into his chest, wanting to rip Zanatos to pieces, knowing he was the cause of all this, but all he did was let Elisa cry into him, holding her as tight as possible, being as gentle as he could. Next day. Elisa felt and looked like CRP as she didn't get a wink of sleep, as all she could think about was her brother. I called the captain. You have the next few days off, Naruto said as he explained what happened with Derek not mentioning the magical elements, only saying he was missing it. Further helped the theory as Owen called the exact same time, filing a missing persons. Thank you. Elisa said as she picked up Cagney and petted the cat who was rubbing herself against her. Elisa, if you need anything, Naruto said to her. Right now, I'd appreciate a friend's company, Elisa said as she just hugged him. I'll make some coffee. You look like you've seen better days, Naruto said jokingly as she hit his shoulder. Elisa walked to the bathroom and turned on the sink, splashing water into her face, and when she began to dry her face with a towel, she looked in the mirror and saw her normally brown eyes were white. She blinked a few times and then saw they were brown. What was that? She thought, wondering what that was. You okay in there? Naruto asked, knocking on the door. Why, yeah, she said quickly as she stared at the mirror for 10 minutes and saw nothing changed, but she was convinced she saw something. Maybe this has something to do with my changes, she thought, knowing she had changed slightly, but it felt so amazing to her, so liberating. She liked it very much. Okay, if anything else changes I should tell Naruto, she thought to herself as she liked to play it safe. Castle Wyvern / Zanatos Tower. Mr. Zanatos, may I present the world's top geneticist? Owen said as the man removed his coat and hat to reveal none other than Severius. I was particularly proud of my death scene. Severius chuckled. Even the world's best actors couldn't have pulled off such a performance. Cold Steel said, entering the room. Personally, I thought he overplayed the part. Zanatos remarked. But you pulled it off perfectly, Cold Steel said. Yes, it took months of forcing the early test subjects to escape before the Gargoyles picked up one, Severius said. But after that things couldn't have proceeded more predictably, Zanatos said, displaying an image of Derek or Talon flying through the sky. I must say, Anton, you've outdone yourself. Maybe you can make me an army of chimeras, Cold Steel said. He's quite taken to his new form, wouldn't you say? Zanatos sighs. Yes, but now they've all escaped, Severius said. They'll be back. Derek, or Talon as he calls himself now, is convinced that only I can cure him, and that delusion will keep him just where I want him, Zanatos said. The game gets more fun the more players we have, Cold Steel said. Clock Tower. Naruto was sleeping in the clock tower as it was sunrise, and he helped Elisa all night, but he was sleeping like a human, as felt like something was calling to him as he slept and dreamt. He knew it was magic in origin but couldn't place it, as it felt familiar in a sense to him. It felt mystical in nature and as if he was connected to it. The wind was picking up as if something had awoken, something old and something dangerous. That night, everyone in the clock tower was reading from magazines except Hudson and Broadway, as they were eating or watching TV. You look like CRP. What happened? Elisa said to Naruto as he looked like he hadn't slept in days and looked sickly. Stupid dreams keeping me up all day, Naruto said as he poured himself some coffee. Take some Mila. What did you call those pills, Elisa? Brooklyn asked curiously. Melatonin, Elisa said as Naruto looked like he could use it. I swear, Naruto said, rubbing his temple as he felt like he was going crazy, feeling like someone was watching him, and when he acted he thought he saw something like a ghost. What dreams be keeping you up, lad? Hudson asked curiously. Dreams of this bearded man, then it goes to some land with forests, rivers, lakes, and it always ends with doors of a castle opening and a bright light comes out, Naruto said as that was at best description he could give. Merlin, Elisa said to his question as she looked at the TV. Naruto looked at the TV and saw Merlin, or at least a picture of him. His scrolls were recently discovered, maybe they're the real deal, actual magic, Elisa said as she was on the team to go see it anyway. It's possible that whatever magic was in the scrolls or whatever contained them had been trying to reach you. Demona said as Naruto's magic was powerful, she knew that, but how powerful was the question. Well, the magic can go jump off a bridge, I need sleep. Naruto said as he rubbed his eyes. Indeed, you're trying to stir your coffee with a bookmark. Goliath said, pointing at Naruto's hand, causing the boy to sigh. What's been up with Naruto lately? Broadway said, watching the young hybrid go to his room. You're kidding, right? Chome said, flying up to Broadway. It's what happened with Derek, Maggie, and the others, isn't it? Demona said. Elisa, looking down, the female gargoyle gave her a motherly hug. It'll be all right, Elisa, we will find a way to help them, she said. Thanks. Elisa said. This Merlin guy, he was a wizard, right? Like the Magus? Brooklyn asked. A white wizard from the 5th century, if you're interested there's books about him in the library. Goliath said. Broadway finished his sandwich. Why stare at marks on a page when you can rent the video? He asked. Words are a subtle beauty, my friend, Kokuo said to her friend. And they're not marks when you know how to read. Lexington said as he pulled out another magazine from underneath the pile Bronx was using as bed. Well, I can't read and I don't think I'm missing out on anything. Broadway said. Yep, ignorance is bliss. Right, Hudson? Brooklyn said to his elderly friend. Leave me out of this, it's time for celebrity hockey, come here Bronx. Hudson said as Bronx got up and laid by Hudson's chair. Few hours later. What the hell? Naruto said as he felt his vision blur as he got on the ship as Matt and Elisa were working the SCRT for Merlin's scrolls. You okay? Elisa asked, helping him stay up. I hate insomnia. Naruto said, but knew this was more than sleep depravity. Well, stay awake, me and Matt need you wide-eyed and ready for anything. Elisa said as this storm was insane. Naruto walked with her, but as they did he could have sworn he saw the clouds make a face of Merlin. What is this, he thought, wondering what was wrong with him. Wow, you look ready to drop. Matt said, seeing Naruto's condition. Insomnia is AB, my friend. Naruto said as he gave a smile. Ever thought of getting some time off and resting? Matt asked as he looked like he needed it. I'll be fine. Naruto said as he was putting on a brave front, and the moment they got to the scrolls he felt like he was slapped in the face as Merlin was there before them, and to make matters more strange he approached him and looked him dead in the eye. Naruto rubbed his eyes and the white wizard was gone. It's official, I'm losing my mind, he thought, rubbing his head. Everyone was brought out of their thoughts as explosions were heard and the glass from the windows broke, knocking them over. Mercenaries, Naruto thought as he saw their weapons and saw their gear, they were professionals. The door was then kicked down, showing a blonde man and a brown-haired woman. Freeze! Elisa said, pointing her gun at them. Naruto did the same, but his vision got blurry again as it seemed like the world was spinning around him. Matt tackled Naruto down as the male mercenary fired at him, making him miss his shot. Naruto tried to get up, and as he held onto the rail he fell over the railing into the sea, sinking, and as he looked up as he sunk he felt like he was drifting to sleep again as he sunk. Am I dead? Naruto said as he found himself on a shore. No, the bearded man said to him. You again? Naruto said, getting tired of seeing him. Merlin said, introducing himself to Naruto. So you really are him, where am I? Why do you keep appearing before me? Naruto asked as he was in the same land he kept dreaming about. Where we are is of no importance. But know that the truths of your origins will arrive soon, Merlin said. Truth of my origins? Naruto repeated. Yes, there is more to you and your family than you are aware of. Merlin said as he seemed serious. My family are gargoyles, what does that have? Naruto was saying. Not them, your BRTH family. Merlin said in a low tone. Naruto's blood ran cold as he always wondered what had happened to them. Naruto, we have close ties, which is all I can say for now, Merlin said to him as he looked annoyed, but whenever you feel powerless or not strong enough, dig down deep. You're more powerful than others would think, like I am, he said as if speaking from experience. Meanwhile, with Hudson and Son Goku. I don't see why you waste your time with television when there's always more fun to be had in a good book. Son Goku said, sitting across from Hudson as they were on the beach, Hudson holding one of the containers of the scrolls as he managed to take it from one of the mercenaries before getting knocked into the sea. I have my own reasons for never touching those old tomes, Hudson said to the monkey sage. Yeah, never bother to learn to read, Son Goku said, as despite his normal angry battle-crazed demeanor he did in fact have his own type of wisdom. Before Hudson could respond, he heard a dog panting, looking worried and concerned. Bronx, he called out as the dog like gargoyle whimpered as it walked over before licking his face. Ah, you beast, I missed you too, now get off, he said. Kurama and Gyuki followed behind Bronx. Well, there you two are, that leaves two missing, Kurama said. Who? Hudson asked. Naruto and Broadway are missing, Gyuki said as they left immediately. With Naruto. Why do I feel so weak? Naruto said, still with Merlin. Well, you are technically underwater, Merlin said as they were in Naruto's mind. What? Naruto said in shock before remembering he fell into the ocean. Yep, oh, and by the way, those scrolls dash, Merlin was saying before everything was engulfed by water. Naruto's eyes shot open seeing he was underwater and a long way down. Being a fast swimmer, he surfaced, taking in long deep breaths. When he reached the surface, just as he was at the important part, he said as he breathed heavily, what is wrong with my life, he said, as that was insanity. Naruto took to the air to find the others. 1 hour later. I swear, Naruto said, making it to land, but felt exhausted as nearly drowning and being soaked to the bone didn't help his flying. He laid on the ground panting as he looked up at the night sky feeling exhausted. He heard sliding sounds and then looked up to see Saiken looking down at him. You look like you had a rough night, Saiken said, tilting his head to look at him. More than you know, Naruto said to him as he didn't know where to begin. Chomei flew down holding Isabu. There you are, where have you been? He asked. At the bottom of the ocean. At least I think that's the ocean, Naruto said as he was still coming back from the mental trip he went through. Think you can fly? We still are missing Broadway, Isabu said to him. I'd rather lay right here, but I can't do that, Naruto said before he got back up, knowing his family needed him. With Demona. I swear I do not know why I let that man live, Demona said to herself as Macbeth was a man who liked power via skill, magic, technology. There was nothing he was above or below. Because you both hate Iago? Goliath said as that was the main reason he put up with the man. Beloved, that was a rhetorical question. If I kill him I kill myself, Demona said as it was a painful process. Goliath had let out a sigh as his wife had told him about her past and how lonely she was and the mistakes she made. It made the decision to be with his son in stone weigh a little, but it was still a choice he didn't regret doing. Chomei arrived with Naruto in his hands and Isabu and Saiken on his back. Where have you been? Demona asked in anger and worry, but stopped seeing his current state. At the bottom of the ocean having a mental chat with that bearded, but that's been keeping me up for days. I literally am exhausted, Naruto said as he fell to his knees. Had to carry him just so he could fly, Chomei said as he fluttered away. Seriously man, you smell like low tide, he said as the smell was a little strong. Just once I wish we could go through one experience without me reeking, Naruto said as he was very annoyed. Kurama called and found Sun and Hudson and the missing capsule. Saiken said to them. Now all that's left is get Broadway back, Goliath said as he felt some relief. Where is he? Naruto asked curiously. Without a doubt, with Macbeth, when it comes to magical objects he'll do whatever it takes to collect them. He's probably holding Broadway, knowing we'll trade the scroll we have for him, Demona said. Well, let's meet up with Hudson and find where he's living and make the trade. Naruto said as it should make certain things easier since this was Macbeth and knowing the enemy was half the battle. Let's look for castles. Macbeth may have adapted to the new world but he still has some likes from his own times. Demona said as Macbeth was never one to stray from his unique preferences in living. Half an hour later. Wow, you weren't kidding. Naruto said as the castle was fairly nice. It was easy, turns out Macbeth has taken a modern name, Lennox Macduff took Elisa no time. Demona said. The characters from Macbeth, Naruto said as he found that to be a little poor taste as Macbeth could have been a little unique with his choice of name. They saw Broadway tied up behind Macbeth as he stood between two lit fires. Come on down my friends, I believe you know what I want. Macbeth said as he knew they'd come as they'd never leave one of their own behind something he could respect, unless you want this to get violent, he said as the same mercenaries appeared in anti-aircraft guns. Naruto landed holding the capsule. You look terrible. Macbeth said with a frown as he liked Naruto as he was a good lad in his opinion and it matched the skills of a warrior he had seen him like this made their interaction less than satisfying. Let's just get this over with so I can finally get some sleep. Naruto said. Your friend for the scroll. Macbeth said. Naruto tossed him the capsule as Macbeth pressed a button releasing Broadway. Macbeth opened the capsule. He was a scabby old boy when first I saw this once and future king. Had I not known what his destiny held, I would have laughed aloud. This isn't a spell, it's a diary, he said. Naruto stepped forward. Mind if I read that I have a slight interest in Merlin right now, he said as he wanted to know what was in those pages as Merlin was known as a good man but he was also known for being crafty as well. Here have them, they're worthless. Macbeth said tossing the containers over to him. True worth is in the eye of the beholder. Naruto said as he learned that from his father. Next day. You're looking better. Elisa said as she looked at him seeing he regained his color. Finally managed to get some sleep, Naruto said as he read Merlin's scrolls finishing the first one starting the second an hour ago. So find anything in those scrolls? Lexington asked. Something strange actually but I'll know more after I finish reading the second one, Naruto said as he was skilled in reading code and embedded messages he was sure he could discover the secrets on the scrolls. Wonder why Merlin himself kept bugging you so much. Shikaku said. In my experience anyone with magic is a pain, Demona said as she dealt with two archmages and they weren't pleasant. Hey, Naruto said as he noticed something as he was finishing the second scroll, these line up, he said getting the other scroll and tried many ways of lining them up via overlapping the paper or putting it at certain angles. What does? Goliath asked. The scrolls it's like a codex hidden messages within the lines, Naruto said as he looked through them determining these scrolls were more than just magical with their words they contained magical spells, oh my god, he said to himself. What? Demona asked her son curiously wondering what he found. Well for one I found a spell to give Gargoyles flight, Naruto said as it was much better than his spell he used on himself and to make matters even more impressive it was a permanent spell. The Gargoyles immediately wanted him to cast that spell and he was eager to do it. We'd never have to worry about sore wings again, heck Bronx could get to fly too. Brooklyn said rubbing Bronx's chin. Yeah and us. Shikaku said thinking he'd be a living sandstorm. Spell only works if you got wings, Naruto said seeing the animals minus Chome pout at that. Why give flight to something that already has wings? Hudson asked as that didn't make sense. Maybe he saw a penguin or a chicken, Naruto said to them as that'd be a riot to learn if he casted it on chickens. Now you won't have to cast that flight spell of yours every night. Demona said to her son. Yeah, giving me a few more precious hours of rest. Naruto said as he liked to relax. Well let's get it on. Brooklyn said. Naruto began to speak ancient Latin speaking the enchantation. His hands then glowed green as it flowed over him and the gargoyles. They gave their wings a few flaps feeling the spell working. Well you all enjoy the spell, my butt is going back to sleep. Naruto said to them wanting to crash as he wanted to make up for the sleep Merlin made him miss. I swear you are one of the few children of Oberon I can tolerate, Anastasia said as she looked at Merlin. I must say you impressed me. It is most difficult to summon you, she said as Merlin, despite being half-human, was among the strongest of Oberon's children. You come for answers, Merlin said, not even answering what she had said to him. You had to have come to this place for a reason. Why? Anastasia said. Let's just say it was a personal matter. Marin said to her. Do not play games with me. What is your interest in Naruto? Wyvern, Anastasia said, giving him a glare, wanting answers, and hoped those answers would answer her own questions as well. Let's just say his path will soon cross with your own, and Oberon's, completing a mystery 1,000 years in the making for the boy. Merlin said as he disappeared. No, it can't be him, it just can't be, Anastasia said to him, a tear leaving her eyes. It is Titania, Merlin said as used her real name as he faded away, leaving the woman to have a shocked look on her face. Titania clutched her mouth with one hand and another over her WMB as she fell to her knees and cried, losing her voice, unable to let out any sounds of pain. NYC few days later. Can't believe we got played, Naruto said as they caught one thief but still lost the mirror. Can't get them all, life of a cop. Elisa said as she felt the same way, but it was the best they could do. I just don't get it. What's so special about a mirror? Vanity much? Naruto said, but he had to admit the mirror had a certain allure he couldn't describe, like it was calling him. No clue. Any luck on your reanimated cyborg uncle? Elisa asked as that was the original person who tried to steal it, but they weren't able to catch him, only an accomplice he had. No luck yet. Naruto said to her as he let out a sigh, hating losing to his uncle. Anastasia was a bit annoyed as she was in town and was supposed to collect a certain mirror the next day, but she was just called to inform it was stolen, and when she asked for the names of who was on duty she was told, Naruto Wyvern, and that shut her up immediately. Could it really be him? She thought to herself, wondering how it was even possible even after what Merlin told her, and she had her breakdown. She couldn't believe it was true. At the clock tower that night. How's Coldstone? Naruto asked, looking at his comatose uncle turned cyborg. I've repaired all I could find. It's almost like he's repairing himself. I'd find a problem just before dawn, then when I get back at it, it's fixed, Lexington said to him as he found it odd. No doubt Iago's doing, he always did enjoy toying with Othello. Demona said as her brother was crafty and was often odd when it came to his schemes. It was almost impossible to tell how he did something to his benefit. I wonder if he's dreaming. Naruto said, wondering what was going on inside Coldstone's mind. If he is, we can only hope it is peaceful, Goliath said, wondering if his brother had found peace in his own mental prison. Ow! Lexington said as he waved his hand, pulling it out of Coldstone's circuitry. Getting zapped. Well, if anything it seems like he's close to coming back online, he said as it was still touch and go. Back to the matter, who would steal a mirror from a museum? Naruto asked as his uncle was strange, but this was bizarre. Have you forgotten the legends, boy? It is Titania's mirror. Hudson said to him. The fairy folk, Naruto asked in surprise as he had heard of them but never seen them. Wait, fairies? Elisa said in surprise. Yes, fairies, sprites, dragons, they're all real in all forms of legend and myth. There is truth after all. Naruto said as legends had to come from somewhere. Titania was queen of the third race. Wife to the king, Oberon. They went by many names, dark elves, etc., but they are beings of power and their objects hold power as well. Hudson said as he was well versed. Okay, so what power does the mirror hold? Elisa asked curiously. Legend spoke of a mirror that the queen owned. It could summon her or any of her kind. Hudson said as the mirror was a powerful tool and not one to be taken lightly, as not all fairy folk were good, some lived to a more monstrous title. Iago is playing a dangerous game this time. Demona said as this could be a disaster. About DMN time, Cold Steel said, looking at the mirror, and picked up a piece of paper and recited a magical chant, and soon a small elf-looking human head came out of the mirror. Hello Puck, he said with a sinister smile. Okay, what do you want? Puck asked, annoyed as he was wrapped in chains. Well, my dear Puck, I want your help to spread chaos throughout this pitiful little city. Cold Steel said grinning. Oh wonderful, Puck said to him as he rolled his eyes thinking they had different forms of chaotic. Have anything specific you want? He asked. See if you can change that Elisa Maza woman my nephew spends so much time with, to see his face would be priceless. Cold Steel said with a smile. Change her into what? Puck asked wondering if he had specifics. I don't know anything. Cold Steel said as he honestly didn't care. Puck rolled his eyes thinking he could have fun and as Elisa's image was brought forth he snapped his fingers and became curious as her image didn't change. That's odd, he said as he snapped his fingers again and again. Performance anxiety, Cold Steel said dryly not liking this. No, I wanted to change her into a gargoyle but nothing is happening. Puck said as he kept trying. What do you mean it's not working? She's human for crying out loud. Cold Steel said to him. I don't know, Puck said in frustration as this was impossible. If you cannot change her, can you change the humans into gargoyles? Cold Steel asked thinking on the fly. CRP, Puck said as that was a tall order as he didn't have the strength to go past the city. Why would you want to change New Yorkers into gargoyles? He asked as that was something he'd do but as a joke. I want to see my sister's face when all the humans in the city are gargoyles, it'll drive her bats. Cold Steel said before laughing. Funny, I would have imagined something more sinister than that. Like building up a gargoyle army and then world domination, Puck said. Are you crazy, having to be responsible for over 6 billion lives? Who wants to go through that kind of hell? Though I will admit seeing Hyena as a gargoyle. Cold Steel said licking his lips. Fine, but I can't do it here. Puck said. With Elisa. You okay? Naruto asked Elisa as she looked sick. I think all those jalapenos aren't sitting too well. Elisa said as she felt like her body was on fire. Suddenly Naruto's hair flared up as he felt a rush of magic. Great, another magic person is in town, he said as he had enough after what happened with Merlin. Then it means Cold Steel has used that mirror. Elisa said as it couldn't be a coincidence. Sure you're up for a flight, you look ready to drop, and that's something as that's exactly how I looked last week. Naruto said as these last few days had been trying. I'm good, Elisa said as she wiped her head clean of sweat. Naruto picked her up and carried her. Few minutes later. So that's a fairy, Elisa asked seeing Puck from the distance. Apparently I don't know if they all look like elves, Naruto said as he heard many rumors about them. What was true and false he couldn't say. What are you doing brother? Demona asked wanting to tear his body limb from limb. You'll see, hit it Puck. Cold Steel said as Puck blasted the tower sending a green wave all over the city. Great, what now? Naruto said as he looked down and saw people had become gargoyles and when he looked at Elisa she just looked more sickly. You, Puck said in anger looking at Elisa as he looked at her a little intimidating despite him being wrapped in chains. Why haven't you changed? Why isn't my magic working on you? He said as it was something he couldn't understand. Back off. Naruto said getting in front of her. Elisa fell to the ground as she began breathing heavily. Ah, what now? I didn't even do anything. Puck said as he whined. Elisa, Naruto said as Elisa's hair began to get long and some of her teeth got sharper as did her nails. What the? Cold Steel said in fascination. Elisa's eyes began to glow red as her body began to change, her skin becoming a lighter tan color and wings popped out of her back and a tail from her pants. Puck said as he looked at her then at Naruto. I get it now, she was already a gargoyle. Well, technically more than that, but that's for later, he said to himself. My magic can't change something that she already was, he said as it was as pointless as changing water into water with her being a hybrid. She was technically already a gargoyle. Not bad for a gargoyle. Cold Steel said as he checked her out and soon caught a knife aimed at his head. That wasn't very nice, he said to his sister. The BLD transfusion caused this. Naruto said as Elisa began to get up. Well, that was shocking, but I got places to go, mischief to cause. Cold Steel said as he grabbed Puck and flew off, but not before chucking the mirror over the side making Goliath go after it. Gotta admit, this is weird, all the humans of Manhattan are gargoyles. Brooklyn said as they landed on the ground. Three ladies looked at Broadway, Lexington and him and winked at them. It's weird, kinda cool but weird. Lexington said as it was a little off of what they normally did. They're looking at us and not even caring. Naruto said as it was weird for them as they were gargoyles and they never got this kind of attention. This is horrible, why would he give all these humans the gift of being a gargoyle? Demona said as being a gargoyle was an honor she could deal with Elisa having this gift as it was less annoying since she was basically a part of their clan already. Probably knowing it'd make you mad. Goliath said as he put the mirror down. Gotta admit Elisa, you don't make a bad gargoyle. Naruto said as she looked attractive to him no matter what she looked like. If this is Cold Steel's game then what's his next move? Broadway asked curiously. Well, if I was him I'd make our situation worse by probably turning all of us into humans. Naruto said thinking what kind of mischief Cold Steel would do next. Oh, I hope not. Demona said as she thought that'd be a cruel fate to have happened to her. Few minutes later. Oh, this is gonna be a problem, Naruto said as he and Elisa looked at the now human gargoyles who were thinking they hadn't changed at all. Well, this is a very strange day, Elisa said to him as they brought them up to speed using logic to help them, but when Demona finally came to her senses. Aya. Her scream shattering many glass windows. Is being human that bad? Elisa asked. To her it is, Naruto said to her. With Puck. That one, Puck thought as there was something strange about Naruto Wyvern was as it perplexed him. Gotta admit that's about how I visioned them as humans, and my sister isn't half bad, now they're outsiders in a city of gargoyles. Cold Steel said chuckling as everything was upside down. He loved it. Surprised you didn't make them like you as you seem to have a love of machines. Puck said tauntingly. Oh, quiet you. Cold Steel said before he got tackled by Naruto. You forget uncle, I'm both human and gargoyle, that little imp spell doesn't work on us, Naruto said as Elisa blindsided his uncle and punched him. I didn't forget, moron, he just refuses to cast spells on you for some reason. Cold Steel said rubbing his face. I like living so sue me. Puck said to him. Then make yourself useful and handle the others. Cold Steel said to him. You could ask nicely. Puck said as he gave a sour and annoyed look. Titania was watching with a critical eye through her mirror, watching the battle take place as she wanted to stop this the moment it got out of hand, as she wanted to see Naruto and see how he was as her curiosity was screaming to find out everything she could. Back with Naruto. Naruto saw Hudson was stuck in tar, Broadway was tied up by a plant, Brooklyn was trapped in an umbrella and Lexington was trying not to get chopped by the axe he was holding. Demona and Goliath were trying to help Elisa fight Cold Steel, but because they were now human they were no match for his strength. I'm going to murder you. Demona shouted, charging at her brother who easily avoided her. Ha ha ha. Oh, this is pitiful. Cold Steel laughed when Goliath struck him with his sword. Well, Goliath, I must say this look suits you, now you're weak and pitiful on the outside and inside, he said. My strength has never depended on brute force, Cold Steel. Goliath said as Elisa kicked the cyborg. But on true friends, he said. True, while my strength comes from this. Cold Steel shouted, grabbing Elisa's leg, causing a powerful shock to run through her body as she screamed in pain. Naruto growled as his hair began to lift. Enough, he shouted as his eyes glowed green. Clapping his hands he sent an arch wave that sent Puck flying into a wall and all of his magical creations disappeared. Cold Steel was also struck and was sent to the ground. Guess Merlin wasn't kidding. Naruto said as he looked at his hands. How did you do that? Puck asked in surprise as that was pretty powerful. Magic, duh. Naruto said as if it was the most simple thing on earth. But no ordinary magic could. Now I understand. Well, this has been fun. Puck said as he lifted Cold Steel and the two went through the mirror before it disappeared. I almost liked him if his pranks weren't so dangerous. Naruto said. A letter floated down saying, thanks for chinking the chains for me. Now that I'm free thanks to you, I'll give you a freebie. Well, at least he knows how to say thanks. Naruto said as he watched from the tower the gargoyles turn back to normal humans and his family back to normal as well. With Cold Steel. Cold Steel found himself in his chair as Puck floated around him. Enough, Titania said as she had dealt with enough of Cold Steel and simply froze him, not alerting him to her presence. Ah, Titania, Puck said, slightly nervous as he was not in her class of magic at all. As hard as it is to believe I need your assistance, Puck, Titania said with a stern glare. Few hours later. Naruto and the others had searched for Puck and Cold Steel, and despite their best efforts they couldn't find him. They were lucky to have found all the magic had been undone and everything was back to their level of normal. Hello my friend, Puck said, appearing before him. Oh Lord, Naruto thought to himself, someone needs to put a bell on you or something. What is it? He asked in annoyance. Well, in that letter I left saying thanks for freeing me, I did say I would give you one freebie. Puck said as this freebie came with certain ramifications, as this was a test from Titania wanting to see how he'd act. Anything? Naruto said, knowing enough about the genie rule to know they would and could screw you over, and it was imperative that the person granting it was someone that liked you. Whatever your heart desires. Puck said. I want you to restore my uncle and aunt from the coldstone body, Naruto said to him. Now be very specific. Now when you say restore, do you mean like Cold Steel or like ordinary gargoyles? Puck asked him. Also, I need a PND of gargoyle flesh to do it. Certain spells like this have more of a cost, he said to him. I want them how they were before they were smashed, and I have the perfect candidate to give you gargoyle flesh, Naruto said, having a small smile on his face. A little bit trickier, but I think I can manage it. Would have been fun to see old Steel's face seeing his siblings come back like himself, but okay, Puck said as he snapped his fingers. Titania had approved of Naruto's choice as it was both kind, wise, and justice to the enemy. She smiled at this. With Naruto. It's good to see you, Naruto said, looking at his aunt and uncle, seeing them no longer made of technology but was completely flesh and blood. Thank you nephew, Desdemona said as she hugged her nephew and her lover. How did you know she was within the coldstone body with me? Othello asked. Coldstone was curious as to why he was called uncle and brother, so I was guessing a female was in there, and my guess was my aunt, Naruto said as the clan celebrated having been reunited. Next morning. Ugh, what happened to me? Cold Steel said, feeling odd, and as he got up he passed a mirror and saw he was completely a machine, and when he looked down he screamed in horror, missing his most valuable part, Naruto, he roared as he smashed the mirror. They will pay, all of them will pay. Cold Steel roared as purple energy surged throughout his body, causing an explosion of energy to erupt from his body. Cold Steel looked down at his hands to see the energy surging through his claws. Well, that's interesting, Cold Steel chuckled before turning into insane laughter. Later at night. Oh man, Elisa said as she fell from the roof as Naruto was teaching her how to fly, which was becoming slightly difficult even as Naruto trained her. Relax your wings, they're a muscle, the more they are used the better you'll be at flying, Naruto said to her as he caught her. Give me a minute. Elisa said as she was gonna get the hang of this. Hey, you should have seen me. I was like in the double digits when I first became a gargoyle, and I was just as bad. Naruto said as he fell a lot when he was learning to glide. You make it look so easy. Elisa said as she hated not learning something quick enough. That's practice something you need, Naruto said as they kept practicing till Elisa had enough. Few weeks later. I swear we need to beat Bluestone half to death, Naruto said as Bluestone was a rotational partner as he often joined them on patrols, and he was a very likable person, but he did have some pretty intense theories. For what, being annoying when he talks about his Illuminati stuff or giving us headaches, Elisa said. The Illuminati are real. Naruto said to her. Oh, not you too. Elisa said as she let out a sigh. I'm a member, well, old-time member, Naruto said to her as it had been 1,000 years. They can't still be around, right? Elisa asked him curiously. These PP are too secretive, trust me on that, but I may have a few ideas, Naruto said, as they may have adapted to times but they like to keep things close to the vest. So why'd you join it? Elisa asked curiously. Personal reasons, Naruto said simply. Like what, a girl? Elisa asked curiously, as she heard a lot, especially from Matt, for Naruto to join them was something different kind of personal. Naruto said, as she was his one and only. Come on, spill. Elisa asked, curious to how he got involved. In due time, now let's focus on finding him. Naruto said, as they started to look for Matt's apartment, and once they got there they heard someone inside, and once they entered they saw a man in a ski mask, and before he could pull his gun out Naruto got to him and punched him in the face. Nothing is taken, Elisa said, checking his pockets. No, but he had to have left something, Naruto said, as the man was clearly searching for something. Whoa. The two looked at the balcony and saw Broadway as he smacked into the glass of the sliding door. I'm okay. Broadway said. Oh God. Naruto said as he rubbed his head. Broadway chuckled as he was revealed to be wearing a fedora and a trench coat just like a cop in the old movies he's been watching at Elisa's. Broadway, Naruto said as he let the gargoyle in. What, I came to help. Broadway said. We don't need it. Elisa said as she pulled out a calendar card from the man's coat and saw it had Matt's handwriting on it. Computer could tell us more. Broadway said as he turned it on. Suddenly the man woke up and shot up off the ground. Don't, he said. Naruto ran to Elisa and Broadway AMD the crook and jumped to the closest rooftop, materializing his wings to glide there since the jump was big. Whoa. Broadway said as he grabbed the edge before Naruto and Elisa pulled him up. They looked and saw the crook escaped, evident by the open door into the building. DMN. Naruto said. Can't win em all. Where do we go from here? Broadway asked, dusting himself off. You go home, Naruto said sternly. Dawn is in less than 2 hours. Broadway, this may take longer, he said as he wasn't gonna gamble his friend's safety. Ah. Broadway said. Don't ah me, go. Naruto said to him, rolling his eyes. Fine. Broadway said as he made his wings come through the coat and flew away. Cleopatra's Needle, hacker, 4 a.m. We may just be able to make it. Elisa said. Who's hacker? Naruto asked, not knowing that nickname. We're gonna find out. Elisa said as they went to the meeting place. 30 minutes later. Think this is really Egyptian or fake? Naruto asked, looking at Cleopatra's Needle. Don't know, don't really care. At the moment. Elisa said to him, really need a vacation from all this craziness, she said as secret societies pushed a certain limit. Hey, you busy tomorrow night? Naruto asked Elisa curiously. No, taking the night off, Elisa said to him as it was her day off tomorrow. Perfect, Naruto said to her. Elisa would have asked more but someone showed up. Hacker, she asked curiously. That's me, Martin Hacker, Hacker said to them. Naruto was listening to the conversation, but as he did he heard a few people approach. Hacker told Elisa how Matt called him in to look up an Illuminati connection that was possibly made as he looked up the man Mace Malone and the interaction between him and a man named DD. I swear the 50s was a crazy time, Naruto thought as it sounded exciting but still crazy. Who's DD, and what is the Silver Falcon? Elisa asked, looking at a letter Mace sent the man. Don't know, you know, if you need some help I could dash, Hacker was saying. Thanks, but I got this. Elisa said quickly, liking to keep things close to the vest. 1 hour later. Did that guy look familiar? Naruto asked Elisa as the man's face was way too familiar to him for some reason, especially the hair. I noticed. Elisa said as she couldn't place her finger on the elderly man's face. So are we really going to this Silver Falcon nightclub? It sounds like a trap just waiting for us. Naruto said as he knew it, and so did she. If Matt's there and in trouble we don't have a choice. Elisa said as their friend was in there they wouldn't abandon him. Right. Naruto said. 30 minutes later. Naruto broke the chains on the door to the club's basement and the two walked in and saw many heavy gunmen and saw Matt tied up and blindfolded in a chair. Told ya it'd be a trap. Naruto said as they were face to face with Tony Draken. Wow, in the basement of a club, no women in sight and your boys are all here. Well, I thank you for the invitation but I prefer this foxy lady, he said, winking at Elisa, who rolled her eyes. Is he being serious right now? Matt said, to no one in particular. Oh, you have no idea, Elisa said as Naruto was being completely serious. So what's up? You wouldn't take any interest in stuff concerning random gangsters, so why so interested in finding these jewels? Naruto asked, raising a brow. Dominic Draken, my grandfather, Mace cheated him out and I want to find them. Draken said as if this was a family quest. Boss, we found a safe. A man said, pulling it out of some rubble. It'll be a fake. Naruto said as he didn't buy this. Why? Draken asked, wondering what made him think that. Mace Malone seems like a smart person, no way would he make it this easy. Naruto said as this was way too simple. Tony opened the safe and found a letter from Mace. Right idea, wrong Falcon, he read before crumbling the letter and throwing it down. If you want, we could lend you a hand. Naruto said tauntingly. Why? Draken asked, not trusting them. Call it a curiosity streak, and besides you have guns pointing at us and Matt, what do you think we can do right now? Naruto said. Fine, where do you think it is? Tony asked, going along with this. Got a helicopter? Elisa asked with a smirk. 1 hour later. Naruto, Elisa and Matt were in a helicopter being flown by Glasses as Draken was in it. They used it to fly up to the top of the apex tower. Showtime, Naruto said as they jumped out the copter. Okay, do or die time, you two. Draken said to them, not having any patience. Look down there, what do you see? Elisa asked, pointing at the office building. Malone's old office, what about it? Draken asked, not paying it any mind earlier. Didn't he say he was always looking at a silver falcon? Well, remove a few decades of grime and you'll see we're standing on, Naruto said as he rubbed his elbow on the eye of the falcon statue they were standing on, showing a silver color. A falcon, a silver falcon. Draken said in realization. Naruto reached down, found a sack and held it up. Your family's jewels, I presume, he said with a slight snicker. Impressive, now toss them over, Draken said, extending his hand. How about no, Elisa said, taking a page out of Naruto's book and jumped. Crazy beat, Draken said as he was shocked she did that. Naruto smiled as he heard a few loud flaps and waited. Well, she's dead, tell her I send my regards, Draken said, pulling out his gun on Naruto. Tell her yourself, Elisa said, appearing behind him and punched him right in his face. How'd, Draken said, a little tongue-tied. A little secret, now it's time to get back to the ground as you and him are going to jail. Elisa said as Matt managed to free himself and had Glasses in the back of the helicopter. Not just them. Naruto said as pulled out from behind a corner, the same old man they talked to in Mace's old office. Nice to meet you, Dominic, he said as he now knew the man was Dominic Draken. Fine, you got me, but please I have to see the jewels at least once. Dominic said in desperation. Naruto felt this was a bit cruel as he handed the man the bag. Dominic opened the bag but found a letter. I feel sorry for you, Dominic. After all these years you still haven't learned that crime doesn't pay. Your old pal Mace Malone, he said as he read the letter before shouting in frustration and dropped to his knees. Come on, let's get you out of the cold. Naruto said to Dominic. 10 minutes later. Naruto, Matt and Elisa watched as Tony and his grandfather as well as Tony's men were put into a cop truck. Next day. What the hell? Elisa said, picking up a letter with her name on it but no return address. Suspicious, she thought to herself, opening it. Dinding, just a key with an address tag on it. She went to her balcony and changed into a gargoyle and flew there. 10 minutes later. About time, thought you had gotten lost, Naruto said as they were a little outside the city in front of a nice mansion. You sent me that letter, Elisa asked, curious about the cloak and dagger. Yep, Naruto said to her. Where are we? Elisa asked curiously. Well, that's the question. I bought this place, Naruto said, surprising her, and I wanted to ask you to move in with me, he said, seeing her face further in surprise. Wait, what? Elisa asked him, not knowing what to say. You can thank Macbeth for picking the place out, man sure does have good taste. Naruto said as he went to the man for some help, and despite their status of neutrality he was a friend of Naruto's. How did you afford this? Elisa asked. Remember the Illuminati and how I was a member back 1,000 years ago? Naruto said as she nodded. Well, let's just say I made an investment and I realized I did, he said, as the situation revolving around what he did was complex. Nothing illegal, swear to God, he said to her. Elisa took a moment and held the key close, and in the blink of an eye she tackled him and kissed him. 1 hour later. Good on ya, lad, Hudson said to Naruto, hugging him. Yes, I am very happy for you, Goliath said in a proud tone of voice. Me and your mother are happy for you, he said to him. Really? Naruto said, looking to some damaged furniture and broken stone after his mother was informed. Though I am a little ticked you became a member of a society without telling me. Demona said as her eyes were still glowing a brilliant red, everyone backing away. Mother, it's not like I'm leaving forever. Naruto said as that was the furthest from the truth. Demona, still incredibly angry, hugged her son, wrapping him in her wings, and looked at Elisa, who was silent, not wanting to interrupt. She gave the girl who stole her son's heart a fierce glare that promised torture and hell if she caused him even a hint of heartache. It feels like it was just yesterday I was carrying you in my arms, she said to him. Oh mother. Naruto said, hugging her back. Next day. What are those? Elisa said as she saw Naruto holding 2 gift boxes. A gift from our ever-so-present enemies, Naruto said, as one was from Zanato's and another from Macbeth. Elisa took the one from Macbeth and opened it, seeing a pair of daggers, one seemingly more masculine than the other, which was feminine. Not bad, Naruto said, inspecting the weapons. Okay, moment of truth, what did Zanato send? Elisa said as they looked at the box in concern, even more so when it moved. Naruto opened it and his eyes widened as he pulled out a small fox kit. Fox's idea of a house pet, Elisa said, reading a note inside the box, and saw an invitation to a wedding in a few weeks. Well, not the worst housewarming gifts, Naruto said to her. 10 pets, that's gotta be a record. Elisa said as the tailed beasts had their own rooms. Hey, the tailed beasts said from their places, being insult as they were called pets. At least Cagney will have a friend to play with. Naruto said before the fox kit let out an adorable sneeze. What should we call her? Elisa asked curiously. I'm a little partial to Scarlet or Urza. Naruto said to her. Well, she does have a little bit of a scarlet coat. Elisa said, holding the kit in her hands, and when the two looked at each other the kit's tail began wagging. Ah, she likes you. Naruto said as she found her cute. Okay, Scarlet it is. Elisa said, smiling as the kit lightly lapped at her nose. Ah, this sucks, now we have to play babysitters for a kit while you two are out. Shikaku said. Are you kidding me? This is awesome, Kurama said as he played with the kit, then got annoyed as she was climbing on top of him and began nibbling at his ears. Ah, she thinks you're her daddy. Shikaku said, chuckling. Poor kid, Matatabi said as she looked at the kit. I'm just thankful she's female, Kokuo said as she watched the kit play on Kurama. Ow, that's my tail, not a chew toy. Kurama said, holding up his tail, the kit still attached. This may not be so bad after all. Shikaku said as he enjoyed this. Hopefully she can learn to play nice. Naruto said as he petted the kit's head. Next week. Odin, Titania said as Odin was one of the more stronger children, and despite his title of being wise he wasn't when it concerned his power. Normally she didn't care, but his power was given to Fox, and that'd have major consequences as Fox never embraced the magical side of her. It could kill her, and the fact she turned into a monster would attract Naruto as well. The days hadn't been very fair to the Queen of the Fairies as she had been watching Naruto secretly watching his life play out, watching it like a hawk watching over him, watching as his life played out, and was a little saddened she couldn't interact with him, or more precisely didn't know how to. With Naruto in the clock tower. Halloween, once a day where the dead could walk amongst the living due to the barriers being at its weakest, now a day to dress up and get candy. Naruto said as in his time All Hallows Eve was more freaky than fun. We can finally walk amongst the people and they won't even know who we are. Brooklyn said happily. Or what we are. Broadway added in. Naruto felt happy as his brothers would get to feel normal and not have to be afraid by what their appearances could do. Hey guys, got a minute? Alisa asked them curiously. Is this about this so-called werewolf on the loose? Naruto asked as for the past week they've been getting calls of a monster attacking. Yeah, finally got a run-in with it, it's real. Alisa said to him. Why didn't you call me, you could have been hurt. Naruto said as magical creatures were dangerous. I thought I could handle it, but clearly this is a job for you guys. Alisa said as from her encounter with the beast she could tell if the police kept chasing after this someone was gonna get hurt. And on Halloween no one will take it seriously, Naruto said as Halloween just became a dangerous night. But how do we get it? Lexington asked. You lads are thinking it all wrong, we have to bring it to us. Hudson said. How? Broadway asked. Every place it's been has all had one thing in common, food. Meat lockers and stores. Alisa said. Then we set up at these meat lockers and wait when it shows up and we catch it. Goliath said. Guess our Halloween just got cancelled. Lexington said as he frowned. Depends on how quickly we get this over with. Demona said as she didn't like to see them down. 1 hour later. Naruto and Alisa were heading towards the closest meat locker to the Baxter building as Naruto had a hunch Zanato's was involved. Magic always leads to Zanato's or Cold Steel, my money is on Zanato's, Alisa said to him. Yeah. Naruto said, not able to beat that logic. Suddenly a crash was heard as they saw what looked like a red-furred werewolf drop down from a meat locker's storage and into the loading area. Tell me that's not what I think it is around its neck. Naruto said, seeing a familiar jewel around its neck. The Eye of Odin. Alisa said as she looked at it. The two landed in front of it and it growled at them. That it's Fox. Naruto said, seeing the familiar blue mark Fox had on its face. The werfox snarled as it charged at them only to get kicked down by Naruto hitting the gates of one of the loading doors. With Kurama. Kurama was growling for no apparent reason as he slept, Scarlet feeling very afraid but not of Kurama, so she hid underneath him. With Naruto. Naruto felt his eyes turn to slits as he could feel through the bond with Kurama that something was very wrong. This is bad, Titania thought as she could feel the magic in the air, their powers are being forced to awaken, she thought, as Fox had the most trouble as she'd likely burn out and die, and Naruto's already magical abilities were being forced to awaken even more than they already were as Naruto had merely scratched the surface. Back with Naruto. The two approached the down werfox until Zanato's dropped down in his armor, helmetless as it was missing a chunk of it. Should have figured you'd show up. Alisa said to him. Of course, after all it is Fox. Zanato said before he tried to remove the Eye of Odin but got blasted by electric energy, blasting him off and waking werfox back up. Magic dumbass, Naruto said as the necklace was protecting its wearer. Werfox roared as it tackled Naruto down and ran off. What in that direction? Naruto asked. Manhattan's Halloween festival. Alisa said. Kinda glad I let my brothers go to it then, Naruto said as he got up and ran after Fox, feeling a pain swell inside him. What is this? He thought to himself. Half an hour later. Naruto ran past scared people, showing Fox went in that direction, Alisa and Zanato's following. The knight turned a corner but was then hit by the thrown body of Broadway as the trio was trying to hold Fox, wearing costumes of their own. Stronger than she looks. Brooklyn said as he was on the werfox's back. Hey, that's enough, Naruto said as Fox threw off Brooklyn. Come on, you and me, he said as he noticed that Fox in this state seemed to dislike him most. Fox glared and snarled as she followed him, seeing him go to a rooftop. Does he have a plan? Xanatos asked Elisa. Yes, Elisa said to him. No, she said, realizing who they were discussing. Maybe, she said as it was hard to tell. Come on, Foxy, follow the gargoyle, Naruto said before he stopped in front of a sign. Fox panted as it got on the rooftop he was on. Bring it on, Naruto said. Fox charged, snarling, but at the last second Naruto jumped over it and kicked it into the sign, electrocuting the woman turned werewolf. As the creature roared in pain, Naruto began pulling on the Eye of Odin, trying to yank it off of Fox. Come off, you stupid jewel, he said, pulling with all he had while also feeling pain from the electricity coursing through Fox. Elisa and Xanatos came to his side and also grabbed the necklace before the trio finally yanked it off of Fox. I need a vacation, Naruto said, having enough of magic for a while. The sign exploded because of Fox, and as it dropped to the ground on the rooftop it began roaring while slowly turning back into Fox. Knowing she had no clothes on, Naruto quickly made a sheet via magic and threw it over Fox and picked her up, noticing she eased into his touch. Here, Naruto said, passing her to Xanatos, if I find out this was some kinda experiment I will rip you in half, he said to him. Naruto, thank you, Xanatos said as Owen arrived with a helicopter which he and Fox got into. He actually sounded sincere, Elisa said to him, finding it hard to believe. If a man like him can find love, maybe there is hope for this world, Naruto said as he pulled her close, sweeping her off her feet like the princess she was dressed as, and if one asked Naruto personally he'd say she really was one. Few weeks later. You certainly are a sharp dresser, Elisa said as she saw Naruto in a suit and very much approved of what she saw. And you look fabulous in that dress, Naruto said, admiring her figure in the navy blue dress she was wearing. Thank you, Elisa said as she kissed his cheek. Still can't believe we're going to Xanato's wedding, she said as she still hated the man. Better than finding out what he'd do if we didn't go, Naruto said as Xanatos had invited his parents as well. Elisa sighed as Naruto pulled her into a hug, cheering her up a little. 1 hour later. That's Xanato's father, Naruto said as he certainly didn't expect the man to be so firm and simple and humble, basically the opposite of what Xanato's was. Wonder where Fox's parents are, Elisa said to him, wondering how Fox became herself. Don't see them, so either they weren't invited or they're not showing up, Naruto said to her. This will certainly be an interesting turn of events, Titania said as she watched her daughter and Naruto closely as she felt something was going to happen. 1 hour later. Have to ask why invite us? I mean, me and my father, I'd understand, but you wanted to invite 2 of the world's deadliest women who want to kill you, Naruto asked as he was on the balcony with Xanatos. What can I say, I like to take risks, Xanatos said to him with his usual confident smile. I noticed, nothing more riskier than messing with time with the Phoenix Gate, Naruto said as he saw his parents on the lower balcony. You know, Xanatos said, but noticed Naruto looked impassive. Yet you're letting me do this, he asked, raising an eyebrow. Who am I to stop a unity of love? Naruto said with a shrug. Xanatos would have asked more, but the moment he saw the Phoenix Gate unite he recited the oath to activate it and was quickly joined by Fox and his other guests. 1,000 years in the past. So this is your time, Elisa said as she didn't know the correct word. Yep, Naruto said as they finished beating some assassins. Why are you wearing an Illuminati ring? Elisa asked, noticing Xanatos had something similar. Well, don't you know they give them to members? Xanatos said as they met with the ambassador and talked to the castle. Be careful, Naruto said as he needed to handle something. You did the same thing, didn't you? Xanatos asked Naruto as they walked. Yes, only I did what I did when I was older. If I do it now it just means more money for future me, Naruto said as he got a letter informing him of today's events and decided to steal Xanato's idea. So what will you do in the meantime? Xanatos said as they were gonna be here for a while. Well, I'm going to do what you did, only I'm going to do what I did the first time, using a gold coin, should make for a pretty penny in the modern day. Naruto said as a gold coin from this era was worth much more than the pennies Zanatos used. So you'll earn twice as much money from the gold coin you use in the future when you're older. Zanatos said, sounding impressed. Yep, Naruto said as he walked away, transforming into a gargoyle. Certainly full of surprises. Zanatos said as even he wasn't expecting Naruto to be an Illuminati member. Few minutes later. Naruto smiled as he saw his parents' young love bloom. Naruto, you shouldn't be here, Demona said before catching her younger self, and smiled as she remembered this day, and soon her eyes widened. How many opportunities will I get like this? Naruto said before they saw past Hudson land near them. Who are you, lad? Hudson said looking at Naruto. CRP, Elisa said, knowing enough about time travel to know this was a mere friend who came to see the union between these two. Naruto said as he spoke to Hudson honestly as they filled him in as best they could. Hey Naruto, this is an opportunity for you, Elisa said to him. How? Naruto asked, wondering what opportunity she meant. Look, they don't have you yet, Elisa said to him. Naruto realized what she was implying. This might have been the day he was left in the village today. Naruto, wait, Demona said as he flew off. DMN it, she said, knowing she had something she needed to do. With Naruto. This is the place? Elisa asked Naruto curiously. Yeah, this is where my life started, I guess, Naruto said as he often came here to pay respects for the people that saved him that day. What are you gonna do? Elisa asked. Well, if I do anything it may change the future, like me never meeting you. Naruto said to her, knowing that wasn't an option, but there are some things I can do, he said to her as he saw a boat in the ocean approaching shore with a familiar sage and the tailed beasts. With Demona. I swear, was I always so naive, Demona said as she looked at her younger self. Listen to me carefully, my son, our son needs our help. By this time tomorrow he will need you and Goliath, only you two, she said to herself. I care for a human child. Demona said, sounding disgusted. Never, she said to her future self. Demona sometimes really hated herself. My son is more than human. I love him with all that I am and all that is in my soul, and so shall you, she said to her. That's ridiculous. I would never feel that way for a human. None of them should be trusted, and you are a fool if you believe otherwise. And what's to stop me from crushing this child under my heel? Said with a superior smile which lasted less than a second as her future self punched her and put her foot on her throat, and her eyes shined a red so fierce she felt like she was staring death itself in the face. Demona hated herself so much right now she wanted to kill her for ignorance alone. She needs to see, she thought as she was carrying the Phoenix Gate and decided to bring them to the not too distant future. Saw that they were still at the castle, and as she looked around she heard laughter of a child, and when she went to investigate she saw herself holding the supposed baby she'd rescue. Naruto laughed in her arms, nuzzling his cheek against his mother's, Demona kissing his forehead. That's him, Demona said as she reminisced about this day as it was when she began to love Naruto after he held no fear for her and trusted her. He is our child, he is also a gargoyle, she said to herself, not filling her in on the certain ramifications on how he became a gargoyle. He will love and adore you and you him, she said with a happy smile as she returned them to the moment they left. Also, when the Archmage fires at you, duck, she said, remembering her recollection of this memory. Didn't know what to say or do at that moment, but she couldn't deny the curiosity that burned in her mind, wondering what was so special about that little infant. With Naruto. Phoenix Gate. Hagoromo asked as he saw a much older version of the baby he was currently holding land on his boat. Naruto didn't answer, just glared at the man with hate as he held his past self. Why? He asked, as that had been the burning question on his mind for years. I needed to set forth the prophecy of a hybrid of both man and gargoyle, the one who would save this world. Hagoromo said. And you just decided to take me away from my family. Naruto said in anger. Who am I? He asked him, wanting that answer. Merlin has informed you, I'm guessing, Hagoromo said as he asked that particular man for a favor in helping put Naruto in a certain direction. He said that there's more to me than I know. Who am I? What am I? Naruto asked him. You are something special, something not even the prophecy saw coming, Hagoromo said to him as he could tell Naruto was getting angrier. For what it's worth I will tell you your mother's name, he said to him. And my father? Naruto asked him. That is a difficult question to answer, even more so with how it was possible, but let's leave that area alone. Your BRTH mother was Queen Titania herself, Hagoromo said to him. I'm one of Oberon's children. Naruto said in surprise. She disguised herself as a human as the children were sent by Oberon to live amongst the humans, and she fell in love with a man, or at least he was in that form. Hagoromo said as the gods were a pain to deal with. Wow, so my mother was a fairy queen, that's a shocker. Naruto said. Kid, you don't know the half of it, but listen to me, when you make it to Avalon say this name to the king. It was your father's name, Hagoromo said to him as he whispered into his ear. Looks like you're out of time, he said, seeing the gargoyles fly overhead. Before I go, Naruto said as he then punched Hagoromo in the face. Been wanting to do that for a long time, he said. Back to the present. Never again, Goliath said to Zanato's, never wanting to time travel anywhere again. Fine by me, Zanato said to them. I'm exhausted, Demona said, as beating and threatening her old self was tiring and all she wanted to do was rest. Those Back to the Future movies weren't wrong about how much of a pain time travel is. Elisa said as she felt today was exhausting. Let's just go home. I've probably got another Illuminati letter waiting there. Naruto said as he may have sent a couple of gold coins to himself. We'll be taking this. Goliath said, taking the Phoenix Gate. Go ahead, I don't need it anymore. Zanato said, not really caring anymore about the relic. Be well, Zanatos, and try not to get stabbed in the back. Naruto said with a chuckle. Unknown to the group, a shadow was looming over them, his red eyes scanning them over, smirking at the relics currently in Goliath's possession. Everything is going exactly as planned, he said, looking over at a trio covered by shadows. Then we can trust you to carry out the rest of the plan. The middle figure said with Cold Steel giving a bow. Of course, and you can rest assured that we will not fail you. Cold Steel said, looking over his shoulder as Macbeth stepped out of the shadows. As Naruto, his parents, and Elisa made their way back, Demona had glazed over gaze looking towards the Phoenix Gate. Titania was in complete mind-numbing shock as she had gotten proof that Naruto Wyvern was in fact her son, as looking at the time PRD of when he used the Phoenix Gate was child's play for her, and hearing what the sage had said infuriated her. He had stolen her child, but even in that anger she felt happy her son was alive. It looks like my little Maelstrom is living up to his name. He even was kind enough to help his little sister, though he didn't know it. My children sure do make things more fun. Titania said, waving her hand to reveal the image to two silhouettes. And what surprises they have in store, she said to herself. Next day. You're what? Fox said in total shock as her mother called her. I'm moving to the city, dear, on a more permanent basis, Anastasia said to her daughter. Fox wondered why in any way possible her free spirit gone with the wind mother would settle anywhere. I'll be seeing you, Fox, and tell David that if he is going to be looking into me he can do a better job, Anastasia said to her. Why were you checking on my mother? Fox asked Zanatos as he slept right next to her. She had a run-in with our favorite gargoyle, Zanatos said to her simply, and it seemed like she knew him, he said to her. Fox was now curious, as her mother was a woman who never made mistakes and who always was certain about something before she got involved. Who are you? She thought, thinking about Naruto, and wondered what the connection might be with him and her mother. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for more crossovers. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.